Our first speaker today will be Assemblyman Rory Lancman. You have everybody's bio in your packet, so I'm not going to tell you where he went to high school or what he started in college or anything like that. You can find that in our little packets. But Assemblyman Lancman is going to talk about what are the safety protections afforded by New York State, what is the impact on budget cuts. We may have him address the difference in enforcement between Pataki was his name? Yes. Governor Pataki, Governor Spitzer, Governor Patterson, and Governor Cuomo on safety regulations, and what was the impact of during the Spitzer administration of the change in the workers' compensation law. And the other part that Assemblyman Lancman has been instrumental in is in helping to focus on the enforcement of safety regulations in the Broadway theater. I know you've been instrumental in trying to look at that issue, and he'll give us some updates on that. So without further delay, here is Assemblyman Rory Lancman from Queens.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm very glad that you're not going to review with everyone what it was I was doing during college, because that would be a very different meeting and potentially very uncomfortable and embarrassing for me. And as much as this is a wonderful and beautiful view, I've seen it before because I've been here in my capacity as a lawyer and wearing my other hat. But I can tell you that I was here for about 3 months doing a document review. So I could also tell you what the view is of one of the interior conference rooms that has no windows and what it's like to be in there for 14 hours a day, 3 months at a time. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I know many of the people in this room had the opportunity to work with you in my capacity as chair of the Assembly Subcommittee on Workplace Safety, which I've chaired now for about 2 years. And one thing that I have come to learn and appreciate as chair of the subcommittee is that the workplace safety picture in New York State is very, very complicated. There are many, many actors on the workplace safety stage. There are many participants in making sure that a workplace is safe. And as we try to enact legislation or try to prod a regulatory agency to be involved in an issue or work with an advocacy organization or a labor union on a workplace safety issue, it's rarely as simple as a one-on-one relationship. We all know that the single most important factor in determining whether or not a workplace is safe or not is whether the employees at that workplace are represented by a union. I'll just state the obvious. Unions invest a tremendous amount of time and effort in making sure that their employees, that their members have experience and training in workplace safety and bring to the job site, whether it is a construction site or a hospital or a Broadway stage, a culture and a commitment to safety that goes beyond just the training of its individual members, but is built into, in some cases, the collective bargaining agreement, but in all cases, into the culture of the workplace. So the employer-employee relationship is, of course, the most important one in determining and making sure that a workplace is safe. And for our New Yorkers who are in a union workplace, they enjoy a relatively high level of workplace safety. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of New Yorkers who are not represented by a union. And even in industries that have been traditionally union, like the construction industry, we are seeing an increase in the number of non-unionized employees engaged in those occupations. Now, a different meeting, we could talk about the politics and economics of union versus non-union. I think everyone in this room knows where I would come down on that issue. But on the issue of workplace safety, we should all be very, very concerned about the proliferation of non-unionized work in the private sector, in particular in the construction industry. You could go into parts of Queens where I am from, downtown Flushing, and there is a building boom. Even during the economic downturn, maybe the building boom is more relative, but nonetheless, most of that work is being done non-union. Most of that work is being done at a level of workplace safety that is significantly less than a union work site. And that's something that should concern us very, very much. But beyond the workplace safety aspect of the employer and the employee and their relationship, union, non-union, there are, as I said, many other participants in New York State that have a role in making sure that workplaces are safe. First, I'll mention OSHA. I know that Joel Shufro is going to discuss OSHA and federal regs at greater depth and the role of the federal government in keeping workplaces safe, but OSHA has a very significant presence in New York. They're understaffed, they're underfunded, but from our experience in dealing with them in the subcommittee, they're very committed. And when we have brought issues to the attention of OSHA in New York, they have been very helpful in attempting to address them, whether it's a construction site in Queens that we see something, or it's come to our attention, something is going on there that's very unsafe, or they were very helpful in a workplace violence situation at a hospital in the Bronx. They've been very, very attentive. Beyond OSHA, there is the State Department of Labor. Now, the State Department of Labor has a very, very important role in regulating and supervising workplace safety in the public sector. But even in the private sector workplace, where the Department of Labor traditionally does not have a workplace safety role, we've given the State Department of Labor some very, very important tools to influence workplace safety. For example, we passed the Construction Industry Fair Play Act to give the Department of Labor the power to investigate and hold accountable employers who misclassify their employees. Now, that's not a workplace safety statute per se, but it stands to reason that an employer who is cheating his workers out of minimum wage, overtime wages, is getting around paying unemployment insurance and providing workers' comp insurance, and cheating the state out of tax revenue, by the way, is also going to be cutting corners on workplace safety. We had a meeting with the Department of Labor earlier this year, and they are very aggressively exercising their authority under the law that we passed to identify and hold accountable employers who are engaging in misclassification. But even beyond the agencies like OSHA and the Department of Labor that are traditionally associated with workplace safety, other government agencies have an indirect impact on workplace safety here in New York, and by and large, they're doing a very, very good job. Here in New York City, the Department of Buildings, for example, a few years ago, there were some spectacular failures on the part of the Department of Buildings in terms of fatalities in construction accidents and other issues. And I think it's fair to say that the department has at that point took a look at itself and made an assessment and decided they needed to do better. And the Department of Buildings is doing a lot better. Just enforcing the building code, just vigorously enforcing the building code is something that has a very positive impact on workplace safety. The construction code of City of New York was revised for the first time in 40 years in 2009. And so the Department of Buildings, which is not a workplace safety agency, by doing its job well, is contributing to making a safer workplace. The Workers' Compensation Board. Now, you might think of the Workers' Compensation Board as, well, that's workplace safety related in the sense that a worker gets injured, the Workers' Compensation Board makes sure that they get compensated. Sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. But the Workers' Compensation Board identify trends, identify trouble spots so that we can allocate resources and attention to where that needs to be. So the Workers' Compensation Board, not a workplace safety organization, but when it does its job well, it has an important impact on workplace safety. And I'd also like to think that the legislature has an impact and a role in workplace safety. The subcommittee has been very, very busy. Those of you who are on the email list know that we're very, very busy across a broad range of professions, construction, healthcare, service industries, you name it. This week we were negotiating and are continuing to negotiate an important piece of legislation for painters to protect them and keep them safe on a job site from passing cars, because they're often working on bridges while cars are driving across them. We did important work on workplace violence prevention in the juvenile justice system and in healthcare. Allison Weingarten, who's the legislative director for the subcommittee, and I, we were in Buffalo last week to attend a safe patient handling conference and to tour a facility that's got a safe patient handling demonstration project. So, and lest I forget, since Lou mentioned it, we also did our part to try to keep Spider-Man safe. When he was, flying off the stage and into the pit.
I see him out here right now.
Yeah. Well, the show's on hiatus, so
That's why he's here.
we couldn't make the show any better, but we were able to do something to protect Spider-Man. So, and not just the state legislature, but every legislature. The City Council of New York has been very active on the workplace safety issue. I think in the last few years they've passed no less than 25 different laws related to workplace safety, I think particularly in the construction industry. And then last but not least, just to complete the picture of workplace safety in New York, there are the advocacy organizations. Balcony, I don't know if it's fair to describe you as an advocacy organization, but this conference this morning, this meeting this morning, is going to contribute to the quantum of workplace safety in the state of New York. NICOSH, Joel Shufro, who you'll hear from in a minute, we all know NICOSH does what can only be described as a heroic job of informing public policymakers, employers, employees of workplace safety issues, advocating for those issues, doing training. We're on the phone with them at least once a week. And NICOSH, without NICOSH, New York State would be, our workplaces would certainly be less safe. But there are other organizations. There's Make the Road. We're doing an immigrant awareness, workplace rights awareness weekend next week in cooperation with Make the Road and others. The Fiscal Policy Institute, what a tremendous resource that is for New Yorkers. And the information, statistics, and research that they do is very helpful to us as policymakers to help form a workplace safety agenda. So the workplace safety picture in New York is complicated, but we are fortunate, I think, that all the actors or most of the actors on the workplace safety stage try to work together. We have a gubernatorial administration, we have a legislature that is committed to workplace safety, and I think that the state is heading in the right direction, even as there are, of course, lots of things that we still need to do as a state. Thank you.
Thank you.